And my granny is from Huntsville. And so they would talk about the barbecue at home all the time. When I was probably 15, I saw the Texas barbecue episode of Great Chefs of the West. And between my grandparents talking about the barbecue when they were growing up back home and that, I figured out I needed to do it. And so I started cooking briskets when I was a teenager.
There's a whole separate episode on the meaning of
Well, do you want me to tie this into Barfield?
Yeah,
of course. Barbecue into Barfield? Okay. Actually, this is like any cooking at all. But barbecue in particular. Like, when you think about what you're doing, when you are, when you're in the kitchen or you're at the grill and you're cooking barbecue, almost impossible. This is why when people write out recipes, it's like, I hate it when people ask me for recipes. It's like people ask me for recipes, I'll give them a recipe, and they'll come back to me and they'll say, well, it didn't turn out the way that yours did when I followed your recipe. And it's like, well, that's because it's like I can't codify like the amount of information. And the reason that I can't codify it is that writing a recipe that's Vervaeke will talk about, that's procedural knowing, right?
Yes.
Except for when you're actually in the actual act of making barbecue or making an omelet, like whatever it is, it's not just procedural. It's not procedural. It's not propositional. It's fully embodied and participatory, which is why when you're really good at it and you've done it for a long time,
yes,
you're going to get into a flow state when you're doing it.
That's right.
Because you're just doing it from muscle memory, because it's become just like this part of this expression of who you are, and which ties it back to poetry in the broader sense of the term poetry, right? Because poetry, and Barfield talks of, language is his focus, but there's more poetry than just the poetry of language, right? There's the poetry of doing beautiful things in a beautiful way.
Yes.
And that's in a fully embodied present way where you're having to use all of your senses. And, the old saying that, it tastes better when it's cooked with love. That's true. And it's true because of all that, because it's like the things you can't quantify, right?
That's right.
It's not quantifiable. So that's why when I give you the recipe, that's why it doesn't turn out, because not everything about what I've done is quantifiable.
Yes. Or reducible.
Correct.
Yeah. No, I experienced that. I bake, particularly pies, and I've had a number of comments come back to me with the inability to make it taste the same way. And that has to do with that liturgy, right? That repetition.
There are people who approach it as a science, but there are also people who do not approach it as a science and just learned it by doing it. And where all that stuff that the people that are doing it scientifically,
yeah,
they're actually making it hard on themselves. It's like there are lots of people who just learned it from their grandmother or have just been doing it for a long time that can probably do it better.
I agree. And, well, I think of it with respect to sports because I spent so much time playing basketball. And there are things, it is that moment that you described, the flow state, that's only possible when you no longer have to mentally concentrate on the movements required.
Let me ask you this, Derek. As somebody who played a lot of basketball, and I used to have a decent shot once upon a time. I don't play basketball regularly with that, but I used to be a good enough shooter to know this, and I'm sure you could probably identify this one too. It's like, from the way the shot felt without looking at the rim whether that shot's going in or not.
That's right. Yeah. As soon as you release it, you can.
Yeah,
holler.
It's going in. Yeah, exactly.
Short, long, off.
Yep.
Or
you
in.
Just feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.